Twitch is something we seemingly all do nowadays. Millions of hours are logged onto the website every day, seemingly even more so during this year when, well, lots of us are doing more stuff at home. Even aside from all the live streamers who made their name on there, the website is chock full of celebrities who may not have even known what a Twitch was before this year, being entertaining on their own Twitch channels in these times when traditional gigs are, somewhat less of a thing.
With this big wave of interest, there also comes a load of simple curiosity from people. Articles on boomer-centric websites titled, "What is Twitch? Where did it get started? What social class do the people of Twitch belong to?" and so on. Just what are the origins of sitting in your room in front of a webcam and talking crap for several hours? Well, most people would point to a man named Justin Kan who, in 2006, opened a website called Justin.tv. He went somewhat viral simply through broadcasting every minute of his life, from going out into the world, to playing games, to just chatting, even to sleeping. Soon Justin TV was opened up for other people to broadcast on it, people playing games gradually became the most popular thing on there, and that side of the website spun off to something called Twitch.tv. The rest, as they say, is history.
But no, I have something earlier to offer. Justin Kan's efforts were most certainly not the first, but there was a man, quite a famous fellow, who beat him by a good 5 years or so. He beat just about everyone, one of the first people, maybe even the first, to sit in front of the camera in his bedroom and do utter crap in front of thousands of half-interested people procrastinating at work. And that man's name was Keith Chegwin. Yeah, that Keith Chegwin.
In 2001, Keith Chegwin opened up a website called Cheggers Bedroom, where he broadcast himself in his room, much to the intrigue of British people everywhere.
Some thought it curious and maybe even revolutionary in the strokey beard world, while others thought it was a new low for a television star who had already had more than his fair share of them. But now, 20 years later, I suppose that we can look on Cheggers and justifiably call him a pioneer. Sort of. I mean, this is after all ludicrously obscure, barely anyone knows about it, and virtually none of it has been archived.
Just a quick stoppage of the video here to tell you a little about the wrestling videos that are exclusively available on my Patreon. If you're a wrestling fan, especially a Japanese wrestling fan, you might want to see them. Our latest one is all about great jobber stories, so the details are in the top comment. Have a look, it's $2 a month. Thank you very much. Now, on with the video. So, what's the background? For those unfamiliar, for that read Americans, just who the bloody hell was Keith Chegwin? To give a quick summary, Keith Chegwin, or Cheggers for short, was a popular 1980s UK TV show host, famed for programmes like Cheggers Plays Pop, Cheggers Checks It Out, The Multicoloured Swap Shop, The Big Breakfast, all sorts. An eternally cheery and energetic scouser, the king of outside broadcasts, never without a smile on his face. He was kind of Marmite, to be honest. Either you loved him or you hated him.
As is often the case with someone known for being endlessly smiley in front of the camera, there is a tears of a clown side to all of this. Cheggers went through no end of troubles with alcohol and relationships, which led to his star fluctuating and him making some, questionable career decisions.
In 2001, he was probably best known for the Channel 5 one-off show he'd recently hosted as part of a naturist evening called Naked Jungle, where millions of people got to see a man who was once one of the top TV personalities in the country fully in the buff. Reaction to the show was negative, to say the least. For many, it was a perfect summary of Cheggers' downfall. Anywho, where did this whole idea for Cheggers Bedroom come from? You could perhaps have a look at some of the successful live events that had occurred previously. Madonna and Sir Paul McCartney in particular had streamed concerts in the past year or so to naturally great interest. It's still a bit of a leap to go from huge star plays concert live on internet in front of millions to faded British TV star broadcasts live from bedroom to hundreds or thousands. But the weird thing is that if it was going to be anyone, you'd have probably guessed it would have been Cheggers. There was always a sense he was somewhat addicted to being in front of a camera or an audience, that he got a big buzz from it. A more negative way of putting this would be that he'd turn up to the opening of an envelope. I mean, how else could you explain agreeing to be bloody nude on television, surely knowing the reaction such a thing was going to get? Still, whether it was his own idea or somebody else's, Cheggers Bedroom was born and started broadcasting for an initial 7 weeks from April 2001 on his new website, cheggersbedroom.com.
Annoyingly, almost no record of this exists. I would love to be able to illustrate this with clips of Keith Chegwin doing his thing for 12 hours every day in his bedroom. But they've all been lost to time. Almost no evidence of Cheggers Bedroom even exists, aside from a few news articles, a few interviews, and a few very low quality contemporary screenshots. So, you know what? I'm just going to have to use footage from the seminal PS2 classic Cheggers Party Quiz instead. Roll it!
Going by the articles and reviews out there, Cheggers Bedroom was actually a pretty sophisticated operation for the time. He had multiple cameras going, he could take phone calls on the air, there was a 30-second delay to prevent anything naughty going out, and a co-host by the name of Georgina. He'd present his own versions of popular quiz or entertainment formats like TFI Friday and The Generation Game, and even have the odd guest on. But most of the time would be spent nattering about important issues of the day, such as miling class from hearsay, plugging sponsors, or answering questions sent to his email address. There wasn't a live chat or anything. It all sounds like... well, it sounds like a live stream. Something you could easily just put on Twitch today.
The thing that most people marvelled at about the broadcast, quite simply, was the endurance factor. Broadcasting for 12 hours every day? In 2001, that was pretty much unheard of, to attempt to be at least somewhat entertaining for that period of time? Jeez! People were certainly curious. The website generated a lot of traffic, usually enough for the servers to buckle under the pressure. A lot of it may have been morbid curiosity, people wanting to see an assured train wreck, or even wondering if he may actually just go ahead and get his dick out in front of a camera again.
But the reviews from news websites were actually generally positive, again talking about how Chegwin surprisingly was able to stay engaging for such a long time, and contemplating just what this experiment meant for the future of broadcasting. The BBC website also has a Have Your Say page where we can look at some viewers' feedback for Cheggers Bedroom, which is a bit more mixed. Let's hear some highlights. What a treat to get some British broadcasting down under. What a shame it's Keith bloomin' Chegwin, with his persistent desire to annoy and his blatant refusal to just give up and face the fact that he's old, tired and not very funny. Cheg off. This is inspired revolutionary genius. Nice one. What Keith has done, following in the footsteps of some smaller events, is to show that anyone with the right experience and the right systems can broadcast their own ideas across the net. Broadcasting is no longer limited to the traditional media that we are used to. Keith Chegwin deserves some credit for experimenting with this new media form, and I wish him the best of luck. Poor. Very poor. Cheggers has reached an all-time low. Poor lad. No! First of all, we had to put up with his stupid giggling, then we had to endure his naked body. Now he wants us to see his bedroom. Grow up, Cheggers. If you want to appeal to adults, act like a grown-up. This is even more sad than what's happened to Jason Donovan. Also, even on a T1 lease line, the viewing is almost unwatchable. I pity how it looks on a normal modem connection. Awful, awful, awful. Cheap and tacky, but I still watched it for an hour. I suspect that Cheggers' work on the Naked Jungle was just preparation for the hopefully very unlikely day that this internet site goes pay-per-view. And finally, what talent! Brilliant! Isn't it about time the BBC put this megastar back on the TV in a new 6 p.m. late breakfast show type programme twice a week? That last one from Keith Chegwin, UK.
I suspect that last one was somebody doing a funny. As for the other comments, again, Either you loved or you hated Cheggers. You embraced his enthusiasm or derided his childish antics, and that certainly wasn't going to change through watching him twat around for hours talking about pop stars or dressing up in a chicken suit in his bedroom. But again, people were at least curious to watch, even if it was for a short amount of time. The website apparently logged 7 million visits in its first 7 weeks, according to Cheggers anyway, and they came from around the world, not just Britain. Many more people may have become familiar with the name of Keith Chegwin. And I would sure love to have seen their faces when they ran an Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves search or whatever, querying about the other shit he'd done.
And yet, Cheggers Bedroom's time on the internet was very short-lived. The initial test run of 7 weeks was a success, and the Cheggers Bedroom website said that the show was going to come back bigger and better than ever, touting all the mentions it had in media, how long people were generally watching for, and saying that when it came back it was going to be on 24/7. But it never did come back. Whatever plans Cheggers had for it all quietly fell through, and after a couple of years of total inactivity, the website went offline in around about 2004 or so. The man moved on to other things, still appearing on regular TV pretty often and all that, still subject to mentions of that time he was in front of a camera with his willy waving about, or that period where he was on the booze and all sorts of things as such. The archetypal faded celebrity still keeping his name out there. Undeniably great at what he did, even if the star had faded and the hard living was catching up fast. And happily, never disgraced, unlike several of his contemporaries. I suppose that Cheggers Bedroom was a weird sort of pioneer in many ways. While there were surely the odd shoutcasts or whatever before then, small setups broadcast to a minuscule amount of viewers on Real Player or Winamp or whatever, it's hard to think of too many things before Cheggers Bedroom that offered consistent streaming to a decently sized amount of people, as opposed to just being a one-off event. It doesn't sound all that different to the sort of thing people do on Twitch today and get thousands of viewers for, even.
It is easy to imagine Keith Chegwin being on Twitch nowadays, when lots of other people are now doing it, and generating the same sort of weird curiosity as he did in 2001. But alas, he passed away in 2017 from a lung condition, aged only 60. But maybe he can also be remembered now as an internet pioneer, as opposed to, well, any of that other thing. Just don't do a Chinese whisper and combine the two. He most certainly didn't get his dick out on an old internet stream, that's for sure. Anyway, bye for now.
Thanks so much for watching. Now, if you liked this video then, please do like it, leave some cool comments, have a look at my social media, my Twitter mainly is where I am, have a look at my Twitch because I'm live most every day, and if you really like what you see, have a look at my Patreon. You could join this list of very awesome people here. Alexa Jones-Gonzalez, Andrew Dalton, Arcade.y Webmaster, Brian Henniger, Chris, Conrad Pritchard, D. Zalior Rimwan Sutter, Dagorath Dungeon Keeper, Danny Wolfers, Dave Cork, David Rose, Dinty76538, Dustin Cooper, Gary Samaden, Glunfeth, J.S. Manchild, James Brown, Jace Alexander, Jeff Ladd, Kid Cassette, Lucas Kaligowski, Mateus Granzo, Mike Clayton Travis, Martin Pataki, Nate Milbank, Potter Margel, Ren Bimon, Robert DeFelice, Rod B, Rusty Kelly, Seth A. Robinson, Simon Gulliver, Stuart Christopher Brownlee, Tariq Amir, Tim Wald, Tom Kay, Yerka Operator, and to all the rest of the glorious community, thank you so much, and goodbye.